Have you ever thought about starting your own podcast but too afraid that it may cost you too much money? Well, guess what? There's an easy way to do that with the Anchor app. The best thing about it, it is $0 and free cents. It is completely free. The best thing about Anchor is that there is a creation tool that allows you to edit from either your computer or from your phone. Anchor also will distribute all of your podcasts through Spotify, Apple Music, and all other streaming services, so you won't have to worry about a thing. You can also make money from doing your podcast, doing sponsorships like this with no minimum listenership. And the best part about your podcast is that everything is going to be in one place. Using Anchor for me has been a wonderful experience. It's so easy to do, and you can do it all from your phone, or if you want to do it on the computer, you can do that as well. All you have to do is go to the website, anchor.fm, or you can download the free Anchor app. All you got to do is type in Anchor on iOS or Google Store, and you can start recording your podcast today. Hey guys, welcome back to the Chandler Burton Podcast. I am your host, Chandler Burton, and in today's episode, we are going to be ranking all 10 DC Extended Universe movies ranked from my least favorite to my favorite, and yes, I said 10. I am also including the 2017 Justice League movie, and I'm also including Zack Snyder's Justice League film as well, just to kind of give you a heads up of that here. So that's going to be today's topic. Again, this is just going to be my list. This isn't the right list. It's just my list. So I hope that whoever listens to this podcast will just listen to it for the entertainment value side of things. I never want to start any arguments of like why I think this movie is better, why I think this movie is worse. And again, all of our opinions are definitely going to be different. Obviously, I can't interact on a podcast, but I have talked to people where they completely disagree with me with my list, and that's totally fine. That's totally fine that you disagree with my list. I think it makes it interesting. It's kind of fun to hear other people's side of the story of how they prefer one movie over another. So again, this is just my list. I just want to put that out there. And then, of course, as always, we will take a musical break halfway through the podcast. And without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. So as I mentioned before, again, I did include the 2017 Justice League film for a couple of reasons. Number one, there's 10 movies on the list, which makes it a lot easier for me to give my musical break, so I could do like a 5 and 5 kind of deal. And also, I'm just really, I think people are going to be curious where I put the 2017 Justice League. After watching Zack Snyder's Justice League, I actually went through my list again. I actually rearranged quite a bit of things on here. Again, obviously you guys wouldn't be able to see my previous list, but I had some things moved up a little higher, things a little bit lower. So I messed around with it actually for a little bit, and I was like, should I put this here? Should I put this there? And I think for me personally, I found a really good spot for each of the films that I, in the DC Extended Universe here. Again, I'm a huge DC guy. I love Batman. I love Superman. I love Wonder Woman. You know, these movies have struggled, to say the least, trying to catch up with Marvel, but overall, I do enjoy most of the movies in the DC Extended Universe here. There's only a couple that I'm just like, yeah, I'm not going to watch that again. There's really only 3 movies, which are actually going to be my least favorite movies, that I just wouldn't want to watch again. It's just something that I'm not interested in watching and I don't really care for. So we'll go ahead and get started with my list here. I'll give the name of the movie, and then I'll give my quick initial thoughts on each film, and we will go from there. Again, I hope you guys enjoy, and here we go. So again, we're going to go from my least favorite to my favorite, and then we will continue on from there. So at number 10, we have Suicide Squad. Now, Suicide Squad was a movie I was extremely amped for, because Suicide Squad, it seemed really cool. It seemed like, the villains are going to be kind of the heroes. They get 10 years off their sentence if they do this mission properly. And from the trailers, from everything that they were marketing with this movie, it seemed like a really, really, it was going to be a fun film. The one trailer with the Bohemian Rhapsody song was so much fun. And I was setting up here to have a really fun time at the theater. Because, again, people complained about Batman vs. Superman being a little too dark, even in the trailers. And so I think they were like, man, we'll try to make this trailer fun and exciting. And what we got was one of the worst superhero movies, I guess you could say, I've ever seen in my entire life. Now, to start with the positives, I will say that I do like the team. Like, I like Will Smith, I like Margot Robbie, I like everybody in the movie playing those characters. And also, too, I don't even fault David Ayer. He's the one that directed the film. He came out publicly and said, he's like, I made a really good 2.5-hour film that was a drama, that had a lot of meaning behind it, and Warner Brothers took that movie and they just chopped it up into little pieces. The reason why is because Batman vs. Superman did not get the traction that they wanted. They thought for sure that that movie would be a home run at the box office. I worked at the theater when Batman vs. Superman came out, and it was busy for that first weekend, and then after that, it was completely dead. Batman vs. Superman didn't even make $1 billion. It didn't even crack $1 billion. I think it got to like $900 million, but it didn't crack that $1 billion like they wanted to. They needed to crack at least $1 billion to make even, because that Batman vs. Superman was one of the most expensive movies ever made at like $400 million something. It was like insane how much that movie cost. So I think Warner Brothers looked at that negative criticism and they were like, okay, we need to like make this movie a lot more fun and make it exciting. But they took out everything that was supposed to make a movie good. The story was terrible. Again, I like the team aspect, but it was a very, very paper thin story. And you're just like, wow, this is really, really bad. And I think the biggest problem in the movie, well, the 2 biggest problems in the movie were Joker and Amanda Waller. I really, really think those 2 characters were completely butchered. And I don't blame David Ayer for that, man. I don't think that was him. I think he actually gave those characters... Like, when you watch the Suicide Squad trailer, there's so many more Joker moments that you're like, wow, like, that would have been really cool. But he's barely in. He's in it for like 8 minutes. And it's not like a cool cameo thing. He shows up, he does like some kind of deal, and then he leaves. Like, it doesn't even like pertain to the story. And if it does, they cut out those sequences that did, because it doesn't make any sense why he's in this movie. It's absolutely ridiculous. And then Amanda Waller's character, it honestly baffles me that she caused the witch. So she sends the Suicide Squad out to stop the witch for something that she caused, and then she goes in at the end of the movie, tries to stop them from stopping the witch. It's like, you're the one that caused the situation. Like, I don't understand why you're trying to stop them. Anyway, I can go on this movie forever. Again, another highlight is I really liked El Diablo. He was pushed to the side big time, and when he gave his backstory at the end, you're like, wow, that's actually a really, really cool thing. So, honestly, Suicide Squad is bad. Like, I don't even... I would probably give this movie like a 4 out of 10. And also, too, this movie does have an extended cut that came with the Blu-ray and the DVD when it first came out. That movie doesn't really do... The extended cut doesn't really make much of a difference. It honestly is just like extra scenes of them walking around and talking, which nobody wants to see. in that type of movie. They want to see action. They want to see fun. And the action was fine. Like, it wasn't like anything spectacular. I'm really hoping that the new Suicide Squad coming out here, and it's so funny that they had to make a whole nother movie because this movie was so bad. It's like, why not just release the Air Cut? We did the Snyder Cut. Let's get the Air Cut going, am I right? Seriously. But let's hope the new Suicide Squad in August is going to be a good film. It's from James Gunn, the guy who did Guardians of the Galaxy, and so I'm hoping that we'll have some good things about that. It comes out on HBO Max and it's going to go into theaters, so let's hope that they can get it right with the Suicide Squad. I am very much looking forward to that film. Okay, so at number 9, and I know I don't know if people get mad at me about this or they agree, maybe like a half and half type of thing, but I put Wonder Woman 1984 at number 9. This movie actually almost made it to number 10, but the more I thought about Suicide Squad, the more frustrated it made me. So I was like, okay, I'll put Wonder Woman at number 9. And to be fair, Wonder Woman 1984 did have some moments in it that were actually pretty good. Like, again, Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman, she shines. She is like the perfect Wonder Woman. She's become a really good actor playing this character, and she really embodies what Wonder Woman is. She's a powerful female figure who just wants to help everybody, and she uses her powers for good. I think that's really, really cool. And that's kind of where the movie stops with my positivity. Everything about this movie is bad. Like, it is unfortunately really bad. Like, the plot of this movie about finding a magic stone to, like, grant wishes, and it's like, what? And then Maxwell Lord, played by Pedro Pascal. Like, I like him as an actor. I liked him in The Mandalorian. I think he's a good actor. But they just did not know what to do with him. He was so overdramatic in this movie that it got to the point where I was just laughing. I was like, this is really, really stupid. And then the other problem I have with this movie was Cheetah, played by Kirsten Wiig. And I don't necessarily have a problem with her as an actress. I have a problem with that character because this movie is trying to juggle so many things at once. And I really think this movie would have benefited from having one villain. Like, either make it about Cheetah, which I would have preferred. If I was gonna choose a villain, I would probably choose Cheetah. She's a little more interesting than Maxwell, in my opinion. I would rather choose her and then make the story about her. Like, I don't give a crap about a wishing rock. Like, it just, the whole thing is just when you say it out loud, wishing rock, you're just like, wow, that sounds really stupid. Because it is really stupid. And it's really, 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 really unfortunate that they could not nail what they did in the first one. And honestly, I thought the first one was going to be bad, but then it turned out being a great, great movie about empowerment and an awesome female-led superhero movie. I was totally blown away by the first Wonder Woman. So I don't know exactly what happened with this film. It's also very, very, very long. It's like 2 hours and 35 minutes. It's overly long. Did not need to be that long. Also, with Steve Trevor coming back with that wishing stone, it's just, there's so many things that did not need to be in this movie. Like, they could have taken some stuff out of this, and they could have totally made a movie with what they had. But again, they try to shove so much into this film that it's just a bloated mess. And you see Wonder Woman at the beginning of the film, and then she literally doesn't show up till like 70 minutes later on like a highway chase scene. There's really not a lot of action in this movie, which again is fine if the story can hold my attention. And the story in this movie did not hold my attention. I really hope that Wonder Woman 3 or Part 3, whatever they're going to do it, will be a significant improvement. Wonder Woman 3 is supposed to take place in the modern world, so I'm very curious to see what they will do with that. And I think Patty Jenkins is coming back to direct that film. Again, I don't fault her. I really think it's a studio thing, saying you have to put this in there or we're not going to approve it. Anything to make that money, man. Anything to like, it irritates me. It really, really bothers me. Anyway, again, that's a movie I can go on about forever. So number 9 is Wonder Woman 1984. Okay, so number 8 is going to be the 2017 Justice League. So this is the movie that I saw with my dad in November, opening night, and there was like no one in the theater. It was like me, him, and a couple other people. And to be honest, I didn't really know much about what happened with this film project. The more I looked into it, the more I found out. But again, if you don't know, I'll kind of give you a backstory here. So what happened is Zack Snyder was shooting his version, or shooting Justice League, and unfortunately his daughter, I believe her name was Autumn, forgive me if that, I think it's Autumn, she took her own life. Of course, she committed suicide. And so as any father would do, he stepped away from the project, saying like, look, family is more important. I have to deal with this. And I give Zack Snyder props for obviously doing that, because this is going to be a big movie, I would say. I mean, a lot of people, I think, were looking forward to a Justice League film. And instead of Warner Brothers saying, we're so sorry that happened, please, like, take your time with your family, and when you're ready to come back, you can have your project back. Instead of doing that, they gave it over to Joss Whedon to remake most of the film. And I'll obviously give my thoughts on Zack Snyder's Justice League when we get to that point. But so at the time, when I didn't know about any of the situations going on, I thought Justice League 2017 was fine. It was a very rushed film, but it kind of felt like the equivalent of like a couple of young men just like playing action figures, or like it literally felt like watching a video game come to life. It was a very lighthearted team up fight film, which again was fine, but I wanted more from Justice League, because again, we all been waiting for this for so long with Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, and so you're like, wow, that is just insane. Like, that's what we got. But again, at the time, I didn't know all that, and so I was like, okay, this movie's fine. I think I even gave it like a 7 out of 10, like a C. That's a pretty high for this type of movie. But then again, you look into more of what the drama behind this film with like Ray Fisher. He like claims that Joss Whedon is like racist and like treated him horribly on set, which a lot of people are doing the hashtag I stand with Ray Fisher, which I think is true, because also Gal Gadot came out saying that if she didn't do certain scenes that Joss Whedon wanted her to do, that he would end her career. And I also heard as well that, so if you don't know this as well, Joss Whedon directed the first Avengers, and he directed Avengers Age of Ultron, which was the sequel. Apparently, this from what I read, that the Age of Ultron movie, it got a 75% on Rotten Tomatoes, still certified fresh, and of course it made a bunch of money, but it was not received as well as the first Avengers. And apparently he was so angry at that he just took his anger out on this movie. He's like, I'm not going to do anything better than Age of Ultron, which I found pretty insane. I don't know if that's true or not, but I mean, that's pretty harsh. Like, I don't know. I just thought that was really interesting. But again, looking back and me not knowing all of the history of this movie, and there's way more behind the scenes of this movie, like the whole mustache thing with Henry Cavill shooting Mission Impossible Fallout, and the movie trying to be funny. Like, there's so many things in this movie that, again, if I didn't know about the committing of suicide of Zack Snyder's daughter. I didn't know really that Joss Whedon was taking over, so I just thought it was a Zack Snyder film. It even says that in the movie. In the beginning, it says directed by Zack Snyder, and I was like, okay, if this is what we get, then it's fine for what it is. But now knowing the history, knowing after seeing Zack Snyder's Justice League, this movie is garbage. Like, it is, compared to Zack Snyder's, this movie is hot garbage. Steppenwolf is such a baby. He looks like a weird baby. Mother. Like, it's so, yeah, the whole thing is just, it's really bad. And again, the studio said you have to keep it under 2 hours. You have to get everything in there in 2 hours, and there's no way a big movie can do that. See, again, I always complain about long movies. Like, I feel like, for example, a horror movie or a certain type of action movie, they can be like an hour and a half to 2 hours. But like a superhero movie being only 2 hours is a little, it can be difficult. Again, the Marvel movies can pull it off because, again, they have a universe. Like, for example, Thor Ragnarok is like a 2 hour movie and stuff like that. And so for, like, you know, Marvel can do it because they have so much buildup, but I feel like DC needs the longer films, but they need a good story to go along with that. So that was my problem with Justice League. Now that I know all about that stuff and hearing about Joss Whedon, I hate this movie. I honestly, if the Zack Snyder Justice League movie comes out on Blu-ray, I'm going to get rid of the other copy because I definitely don't want that in my house anymore. But again, that was number 8. That was the 2017 Justice League film. So we got 2 more, and then we'll go and take our musical break here. So at number 7 is going to be Birds of Prey and the something Harley Quinn. I just call it Birds of Prey. So this was a movie that was an acquired taste. When I saw it in theaters the first time, I think I gave it like a 6 out of 10. So I didn't hate it, but I didn't love it. But I saw it again. I saw it by myself opening night, which was on a Thursday. And then I saw it again on that Saturday with my dad. And then we actually rewatched the films again to prepare for Zack Snyder's Justice League. And honestly, Birds of Prey is not too bad. I will give it some props here. They definitely try to pull a Deadpool. Like, Harley Quinn breaks the fourth wall quite a bit in this film. I also really like the Joker's not in it, because I think they realize with Suicide Squad, like, if he's not necessary to the story, we don't need him. And I don't think he was necessary to the story, so I thought that was really good. Again, Margot Robbie playing Harley Quinn, she is perfect for this role. She is born to play Harley Quinn. She does such a really good job in the film. And I also got to say, Ewan McGregor did a great job as Black Mask. I remember seeing Black Mask for the first time in the Batman Arkham Origin games, and if you haven't played that game, spoiler alert, ends up being the Joker. But I looked more into the Black Mask, and I was like, he's kind of cool. He's kind of a cool character. And when he put the mask on in the movie, I was like, dang, dude, he's kind of intimidating. I was like, this is actually not bad. I was like, this is pretty sweet. I will also say that the action in this movie is actually really good. Like, it's not so over the top like a lot of these other movies are. Like, these big budget superhero movies have so much CGI, and it's like so much coming at you at once. This movie is just satisfied with hitting people with a baseball bat, shooting people with like a not a BB gun, like a beanbag, not a beanbag, but like some type of gun. Like, it's in the movie. I'm trying to remember the name of it here, but it's just like, it's a very simple action movie. Like, even the last action sequence is a very simple. It takes place like inside of like an amusement park, and it's like, wow, this is actually pretty cool that they were able to pull it off. And it looks realistic. So a movie like this is going to stand the test of time once it gets older, because again, it's all done in camera. There's really no CGI within the action scenes. There's some, but I will praise the action. It's actually pretty good. Now, the pacing of the movie is a little weird. Some of the story elements are kind of weird, but and then also too, you don't get the other Birds of Prey, I guess you could say, they don't get a lot of time to shine. This movie really is about Harley Quinn, but the other girls in the film kind of get pushed to the side a little bit, which again, I like the movie well enough that I didn't hate that aspect of it, but I wish they would have focused more on those characters. And I don't know if they're doing a sequel to this movie. If they are, I'll definitely check it out. I think that could definitely this is definitely a movie that can be improved on with a sequel. So again, that was Birds of Prey at number 7. So we're gonna do one more, and then we'll take our musical break. So the number 6 spot is going to be Batman vs Superman, or Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice, the Ultimate Edition. Now, I mean, this movie was once I heard about this film, I remember watching the Comic-Con footage of Zack Snyder saying, like, we're doing a Man of Steel sequel, but it's going to be a little bit different. And they brought the guy out, the general that was in Man of Steel, and he read the quote from The Dark Knight Returns, and the lights went down, and it showed the symbol, the Superman symbol, the Batman symbol, and I was like, no way. And I remember waiting so long for this movie. I was so disappointed that it got delayed. But then eventually it came out in March of 2016. And I actually did like the theatrical cut of the film. It definitely has problems, and it definitely is paced poorly. And there's some things in there that you're like, oof, that does not make any sense. That doesn't need to be there. Like when they do the introduction to the Justice League through the email, you're like, oof, that's not good. That's not good at all. That's a bad introduction. But overall, the action was cool. The fight was terrific. The Batman warehouse scene is the greatest action sequence I've ever seen in a film. It is so cool. I absolutely love that scene. But again, I liked the movie, but I know there's problems in it. And I know that the movie's not perfect. So when I heard they're doing the Ultimate Edition, I was like, I got to buy that and do the extra 30 minutes of footage. And I would say, honestly, it's pretty close to a night and day difference. Like, it's funny how they took out certain scenes and put in other scenes. It's like, dang, they should have kept that in there. Like, in the Ultimate Edition, you learn that you understand why Batman hates Superman. You see at the end of Man of Steel, you see that Superman is fighting against General Zod, and he causes destruction to the city. And a lot of critics and audience members complained that it was too much destruction. And so Batman vs Superman was like, okay, we're gonna like fix that problem. I was like, that's actually a really clever story element to like take that, and you understand why Batman is mad at Superman. And honestly, the Batman scenes were the best part of this movie. He actually did some really cool detective work in this film. But then you think about, like, why in the theatrical cut, you're like, why does Superman hate Batman? Like, there's no reason for you to hate him. He kind of just shows up out of nowhere when Batman's trying to get the kryptonite to stop Superman. Because again, we understand his motive of what he's trying to do. But Superman shows up, you're like, are you guys going to hang out or something? Or like, what's going on here? So in the Ultimate Edition, you learn that Batman is doing some things that aren't, he's operating outside the law, which Batman does. And Superman, he's like, okay, now we got to stop this vigilante. Like, so there's a reason why Superman and Batman, hate each other. But again, it's still not resolved with the whole Martha thing and like just stuff like that. Like, how did Jesse Eisenberg's Lex Luthor know that they want to fight on the same night? They both want to take down Superman. There's so many things, again, in the Ultimate Edition that work, but there's still the storytelling problems of it. You're like, that doesn't make any sense. That doesn't make any sense. But I will say, if I were to watch this movie, I will watch the Ultimate Edition because it really does feel like the complete version of what Zack Snyder wanted to do. It's a little more cohesive. It still has some story problems. And again, Doomsday, he looks like a giant piece of poop. Like, he really does. But again, I know they needed to have something for Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman to fight together, and I completely get it. But it's like, man, Doomsday is a huge part of the Superman story. Like, if you read the Death of Superman comic, like, he's the one that killed Superman. That should have been its own movie and its thing. But again, I know they were trying to catch up with Marvel, and it's a bummer because, again, Doomsday could have been a really, really threatening and cool villain. Instead, he looks like a mountain of just poop. And that's a huge problem for me. So overall, though, I do like the Ultimate Edition. Again, I love Batman and Superman as characters. That's probably why I'm a little biased towards this film, why it's a little bit higher than the other movies. But I did enjoy this film. Again, there's things of it I don't like that I'm like, that I know that I'm not saying this movie's a masterpiece, but I don't hate it like most people do. So again, I don't hate the movie, but I'll only watch the Ultimate Edition if I watch this film. It's 3 hours, but that's the only way that I can watch this movie. But, okay, so that was the first part of the podcast here. Now we're going to take a musical break, and then we'll continue with my top 5 DCEU films. Hey guys, I hope you're enjoying the podcast so far. Of all 10 DCEU films ranked from the worst to best in my own personal opinion. I hope you guys are enjoying it so far. So as usual, we're going to take a musical break here. I just want to show you guys a song that I've been jamming only for the past few hours because it hasn't been out that long. Today we're going to be checking out the band of Mice and Men and their new song called Levy. This is going to be off their new EP called Bloom, which is out now through Sharp Tone Records. I absolutely love this song, and I absolutely love this band. This is a band that I've listened to since I was in high school, and almost being 28 now, I've listened to this band for a very, very long time. So they're very special to my heart. And again, this is a brand new song that I've been jamming constantly. So I hope you guys enjoy. And again, the band's called Of Mice and Men, with their song Levy off of their new EP called Bloom through Sharp Tone Records. I hope you guys enjoyed the song. Hey everybody, welcome back from the musical break. I hope you enjoyed the song. Again, I've been listening to that here for the past few hours. It just came out last night, and I've been listening to it like all day. Like I went on a walk, and that's like all I listen to. I do that a lot with songs, where I just put it on repeat. I'm like, I love this song too much, man. It's so good. So I hope you guys enjoyed. But we're going to continue on with the DCEU movies ranked from my least favorite to my favorite. So again, these are my, I guess you could say my top 5. So we'll go in and get started here with number 5. And number 5 is going to be Man of Steel. Now, Man of Steel is a very controversial film. Now, a lot of people, again, were kind of concerned because Zack Snyder was attached to the project, and I actually am a Zack Snyder fan. Like, he's not like the best storyteller, and he does have some stinkers of some movies, mainly Sucker Punch. But honestly, like, I've liked most of his work. Like, I like 300, I like Dawn of the Dead, I liked Watchmen, I liked Man of Steel, I like Justice League, I like Batman v Superman. So honestly, I do like the majority of his work. And it's kind of cool about Man of Steel is I actually did not see this one in theaters. I was on a mission for my church. I was a missionary for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. And of course, as a missionary, you're not allowed to see any movies on your mission. And so I remember my dad, he wrote me a letter and he talked about Man of Steel, but it was actually really cool. He wrote me a letter saying that he really enjoyed Man of Steel and that like he missed spending that time with me and he missed seeing those movies with me. And he kind of just quoted a little bit from the movie, like a lot of the parts in it, to kind of help me out of my mission because I was kind of struggling at the time with some things. And I don't know, that really, the movie means a lot for me, I guess, for a personal reason. But going to the actual film, this is, I mean, look, I've seen the original movies with Christopher Reeves. Like, I've seen all of them. And I saw the one, I forgot the guy's name. I know it's Brandon something. But I saw the Superman Returns movie with Kevin Spacey being Lex Luthor. And that movie was an absolute disaster. Like, that movie sucked so bad. It blows my mind that movie is like at 76% on Rotten Tomatoes, like certified fresh. But everybody that I've asked absolutely hates that movie. I think it's really funny. But I was not a fan of that movie either. So honestly, I'm going to be honest with you, probably because I technically, because I kind of grew up with it. Man of Steel is probably my favorite Superman movie. I liked Henry Cavill as Superman. I really like Michael Shannon as General Zod. Out of all the movies on this list, I say Man of Steel is probably the best when it comes to the story. It's not great. And there are a few things that I think Zack Snyder could have fixed. For example, I feel like Superman was a little too serious in this movie. And if you watch the Justice League cartoon or even watch like the Super Friends, he has more of a lighthearted tone. He likes to joke. He smiles. Like, he's kind of like a cool dude. Superman is not as lame as a lot of people may think. I actually like Superman. He's like my second favorite superhero. I think he's absolutely awesome. So there's a scene, for an example, there's a scene in the movie where Superman, he is washed up on shore, and he takes these people's clothes. And if you read the comic books or if you watch any of the TV shows with Superman, you would know, like, he's a really shy, timid guy. So there's a scene, again, where he takes these clothes out of a truck, and I thought it'd be kind of cool if he, like, what if he knocked on the door saying, like, hey, I was in the water forever and I really need some clothes. Can I borrow some? Not only would that feel like Superman, but the audience would be like, get a kick out of it. And it's kind of cool. Like, you got to have, I always complain about exposition in films, but you got to have some exposition, even for a character like Superman. Like, you need to show him who he is as a person. And I feel like the movie kind of does fall a little bit flat there. I feel like, again, I don't blame Henry Cavill. I say this is probably more of a Zack Snyder thing because I'm sure he was heavily influenced by Batman. The Dark Knight trilogy wanted to make Superman like dark and gritty, and I get it because those movies did really well. But Superman's not like that. I mean, you could have had the same structure of the film that Zack Snyder made, but maybe make Superman a little more, I don't know, likable. Like, I know all the females like him because Henry Cavill's a handsome fella. I don't sway that way, but I will say he's a very, very handsome gentleman. Very, very handsome. So, I mean, for the girls, it's fine. But for the geeky comic book nerds that want to see the movie like me, I thought for sure they put a little more personality into Superman. And I will say, I know a lot of people complain about the action in this movie, saying there's a lot of action. But it's like, I watch every other superhero movie, and they have, like, the same amount of action. Like, you look at movies like Avengers. Like, the first Avengers, that giant battle in the city, with all of like Loki's robot monsters or whatever. There's a ton of destruction there, but I don't see anyone complaining about that because that movie was super well received. That's probably why. But anyway, again, overall, I really enjoyed Man of Steel. I think it's a really good film. Like, I know I complained about Henry Cavill, like the way he plays Superman, but I don't blame him. I blame Zack Snyder saying, I want to make him more like Batman. But again, I do like Man of Steel. I think it's a really good movie. Again, the more I watch it, the more I enjoy it. So at number 5, we got Man of Steel. So at number 4, this movie actually shifted because it's weird. Every time I watch this film, I like it more and more and more. I'm going to give it to Aquaman. Aquaman, I saw the movie in theaters and I did not like it. I was like, this is boring. It's long. It's really uninteresting. And then, of course, I bought it because I collect all these movies physically. I'm just kind of weird like that. Like, I like having physical copies of movies. And so I bought Aquaman and I watched it and I was like, okay, this wasn't as bad. And then I kept watching it again and again. And every time I kept watching it, I was like, this movie actually isn't that bad. Like, I was like, what? It's kind of fun. Jason Momoa does a really good job as Aquaman. Again, the movie it's a little long. It's definitely not perfect. But I will say, James Wan, he could do a pretty good action movie. He's known for, like, the Conjuring films, if you've seen those. But he did a pretty good job with this one. And the movie made over $1 billion. I was like, wow, I can't believe, honestly, Aquaman made that much. It did more than Batman vs. Superman. And Aquaman's a lesser-known character than Batman and Superman. I'm like, wow, that actually blows my mind that movie made so much. So I actually am really excited to see what they'll do with the sequel. Now, again, the movie, it's kind of like at a world trotting adventure. Like, they go to different locations. A lot of it takes place under the water. A lot of it takes place on land. So the back and forth element between those are actually really cool. I actually really like that aspect of the film. There's a lot of CGI in this movie, and so a lot of it doesn't look fantastic. Especially, again, a lot of it takes place underwater. So I mean, you have to animate that. And some of the background characters don't look really that good, but again, most of it looks pretty good. I will say the last action scene with his half brother was so sick. When he gets the trident and he's wearing the original Aquaman outfit, I will say this too, Jason Momoa can pull it off. Like, I'm actually shocked they put the orange and the green outfit in the film. I was like, there's no way they could pull it off with Jason Momoa's personality, but man, he looks cool. I was like, dude, you pulled that off so well. I'm like, oh, brother, that is what's up. But yeah, honestly, the more I watch this movie, the more I enjoy it. Again, it's not perfect, but it's just fun. It's a lot of fun. It's got this kind of the same problem as Wonder Woman 1984, where there are a few villains in this film, especially, like, I forgot the guy's name at the beginning, where he kills the dad. Black Mantis is after him, and then you got his half-brother. So there's a lot of going on villain-wise. A lot of people are not a huge fan of Aquaman. Ooh, that rhymed. I did not mean that for it to rhyme. But yeah, honestly, I liked the film. I thought it was really enjoyable. The more I watch it, the more I like it. It's so weird how that happens. Every time I watch, I swear, if I keep watching Aquaman, it's going to end up in first place. So, yeah, but Aquaman, I really enjoyed the film. Most people I talk to aren't a huge fan of it, but I keep telling them, watch it again. Give it another chance. You may like it. Okay, so we got 3 more, and then we will go from there. So at number 3 is going to be the Wonder Woman from 2017. So as I mentioned in Wonder Woman 1984, I was a little worried about this film. I liked Wonder Woman and Batman vs. Superman. It was a really exciting thing to see her on the big screen because we've never had Wonder Woman on the big screen before. So that was a really cool moment when they all fought with Doomsday. But then they announced that Wonder Woman's getting a solo film, and I think everybody was a little concerned because, again, Batman v Superman did not do well. That movie's got a 27% on Rotten Tomatoes. Oh, 28, sorry. And then Suicide Squad has, I think, a 26. And those were the movies that came out right before Wonder Woman. And so everybody was concerned, like, dude, Wonder Woman's going to suck. It's not going to be good. And then the movie came out and it has like a 90+% on Rotten Tomatoes. All the critics liked it. All the audiences liked it. And my dad is a huge fan of Wonder Woman. And so he's the first person I asked, like, did it make your approval? And he said, absolutely. Everything about this film is great. Steve Trevor was great. Gal Gadot was so good as Wonder Woman. I just thought that was really, really... I was a little worried because, again, her accent and everything. But, like, honestly... it worked, man. It really worked. The action scenes are great. That scene on the battlefield, man, was so cool. And I think it is important for people to to see this movie, especially I think for younger women. I really feel like, I think a lot, because superhero movies, let's be honest, it's really geared towards more the male audience. I mean, there's females, of course, that like the film, but I think most dudes talk about these movies more than girls do. And so I think it's really cool that they have something to talk about, that younger girls have something to look up to, because, I mean, let's be honest, little girls, like, they're gonna like things like, they may like Batman, they may like Superman, or like Captain America, Iron Man. They may like those characters, but they're not going to necessarily look up to them, I don't think. But Wonder Woman, being the character that she is, because she's a very strong, powerful woman, but she's a good motivator. She's nice, she's kind, she's giving. I think that's very inspirational. I think that could really help a lot of young girls, like if they're feeling kind of lost. They can just watch this movie and maybe they can feel like Wonder Woman, maybe help those people who are in need. So maybe that's just me being optimistic, trying to make the world a better place. But I thought they nailed this movie, man. I thought it was really good. I thought it was super exciting. They did a great job with this film. Again, I really hope Wonder Woman 3, whatever they're going to call it, I hope it's a big improvement over Wonder Woman 1984, because that movie was hot garbage. So again, number 3 is Wonder Woman. So we got 2 more. The second one is going to be Shazam. Now, Shazam was my number 1 spot, which, of course, I'm sure you know what number 1 is going to be. But number 2 is going to be Shazam. It's funny, I did not know much about Shazam. Like, I knew that he said Shazam and he turned into a superhero, but that's it. That's the only thing that I knew about him. And I just thought it was a really good film. It was so fun. It was so funny. Zachary Levi did such a good job at this role. Funny story about that, actually. Zachary Levi, he did an interview, and he actually tried out for the role in Guardians of the Galaxy. He tried out for Star-Lord. And it turns out Guardians of the Galaxy was actually his favorite comic book. Like, he's read all those comic books. He loves Star-Lord. So he tried out, and he did not get the part. Obviously, Chris Pratt got the part. And he was devastated. He got really bad depression. He wanted to give up on acting. And then he tried out for Shazam, and he's like, it really changed my life. And honestly, dude, like, Shazam was so good that I cannot wait for the sequel. The sequel is called Fury of the Gods, which comes out, I think it's 2022 or 23. It's either next year or the year after. So I'm really excited about that. I will say, I think, honestly, the movie is a lot of fun. I actually would recommend it a lot to families, because it has a big family message in regards to it. Like, no matter... I think the message of the movie is, like, anybody can be your family. It doesn't have to be, like, blood related. Like, it can be... Like, I have a couple of buddies of mine, I have people like my friend Kyle, my friend Chisholm, my friend Dylan, who, like, I don't even consider them, like, friends. I consider them, like, my brothers. And so I think this movie does a good job of showing, like, not blood family has to be your family. Because obviously there's a scene in this movie where he meets his mom again after a couple of years. His mom wants nothing to do with him. It's actually heartbreaking. You're like, wow, could you imagine? Like, my mom would never say that to me or my sisters. So it's incredible that some people are like that. You're like, wow, that actually really hurt. I was like, dang, this is like emotionally, it's going to hit me hard, man. But then it goes back to being funny, and it goes back to kind of having a little bit of horror elements with, like, I forgot the name of those creatures, but I'm kind of rambling here about the movie. I apologize. But again, Shazam is awesome. It's a little bit lower budget than the other films, but honestly, again, a movie doesn't have to have a lot of action for me to love it. And I love Shazam. I thought it was an absolutely fun film. I cannot wait for the second one. I hope it's going to be as good as the first one. All right, so again, at number 1, of course, is Zack Snyder's Justice League. Look, my dad and I did a whole podcast episode in regards to that. We just talked about the things that we loved about it. And we kind of talked about the other movies as well. But I just want to kind of give my quick thoughts on Zack Snyder's Justice League. First of all, I want to say I'm really happy that he got this movie made. Again, this is the vision that he wanted to put out in theaters, but he had to step down due to his daughter. And so it's awesome that he was able to get a second chance at doing this film. I mean, it's on HBO Max if you want to watch it. That's the only way you'll be able to watch it as of right now. As far as I think the UK actually is releasing the movie on Blu-ray, so I'm hoping they do that here in the United States, because I think that would be a really, really, really cool thing. But everything about this movie works. It is 4 hours, and there are parts of it where you could have shaved half of that off, and it could have been 3 hours. This movie would have worked with 3 hours. But again, this is Zack Snyder's vision of what he wanted, and since it was going on a streaming service, I think they're just like, yeah, we'll give you the money. you can do what you want with it, honestly. So he's like, we'll just literally, I think he shot everything and he's just like, let's just keep it all in the film, which is totally fine. Like, I completely understand that. But if this movie was going to go in theaters, I think it would be, I think it would have been about a 3-hour film. Some of the biggest improvements in the film were Cyborg, because Cyborg was completely shoved to the side in the 2017 Justice League. Like, if you don't know, like, I love Cyborg. I love his backstory. I love everything about him. In the comic books, they showed a little bit in the Zack Snyder cut, but in the comic books, if you want to learn a little more about him, he's a good student. He's an athlete. His mom, who dies, which I do mention that in both of the movies here, and he gets really depressed. He gets really sad. He starts hanging out with this gang. This is all in the comic books. He starts hanging out with this gang and starts getting into, like, mischief, and he gets hit by a car, and he's not supposed to make it, so his dad brings back to life a cyborg and those types of things, and you don't really get a lot of that in the 2017 Justice League. He's just kind of there. And I think a lot of people are like, who is this guy? Like, should it be like Green Lantern or something? And Cyborg's a fairly new character to the Justice League. Like, I don't know how new, but he's newer. And I think a lot of people are like, we don't even really care about this guy. In this movie, they do a lot better job of giving him, like, a little bit of a heart. And a little bit, like, he really is the heart of the story. I mean, he literally is engraved with the Mother Box, which again is kind of like the Infinity Stones, like in Avengers. Like, they can't let the bad guys get them. But he's a big part of the movie, and I'm like, wow, they really cut out a lot from Cyborg. I was like, man, if they would have kept a lot of Cyborg stuff in the 2017 movie, it probably would have worked better, because he is a big part of the story. I will also say as well, the Flash was a big improvement in this movie. The Flash, he was kind of annoying in the 2017 Justice League, because Joss Whedon wrote him to be a quirky, funny dude, but in this version, he actually is still very funny, but he's also can be serious when he needs to be, and I think they did a good job balancing his character out, not him just being the funny guy. I thought he used his powers really well, and I really liked the Flash in this movie. I thought it was really good. I will also say that Aquaman, Batman, Superman, like, they're all great. Like, I didn't have a problem with them in the Joss Whedon cut. Not a problem with them there. But I will say the biggest improvement in this film is Steppenwolf. Now, Darkseid is technically the main villain. He's not in the action he's not in the action at all. He pretty much sends Steppenwolf to go do his dirty work. He's like, yeah, you can just go do it. And so in the other movie, in the 2017 version, you're like, dude, Steppenwolf sucks. He's ugly, he's skinny, he's not threatening. It's like, this is what the Justice League need to take down. Superman can do this on his own. But in this movie, he looks completely different. I was like, whoa. They made his voice different, and he actually was pretty intimidating. I was like, dude. And you kind of understand his motive. Like, he wants to prove himself to Darkseid that he can be a faithful servant, per se. Which, again, if you look at someone like Thanos, Thanos' motivations are really... they're completely understandable, and you kind of understand Steppenwolf's a little bit more, but I think I'm a little spoiled by Thanos, because, again, Thanos was just awesome, because he wasn't a villain of, like, like, hey, I want the whole world to bow to me. Like, after he did the snap, he's like, all right, people don't need to bow to me. I'm just going to go live on a farm, get some nasty clothes, ragged clothes, and just enjoy my retirement. I was like, dang, dude. That's crazy. Like, Thanos, honestly, is probably a cool guy. He's probably a really chill dude to talk with. He just believed in what he thought was right. And that's what makes a villain a good villain. Like, you have to... I think if the audience is like, you know what? I understand where he's coming from. I think that automatically alone makes him a good villain. I really do. Not in every occasion, but I think most of the time, if you can relate to the villain, I think that makes it a really good villain. And Steppenwolf, I did relate to him a lot more than I did in the original cut. You're like, man, like, I guess I want him to succeed on being a bad guy. And you're like, he just wants to prove to Steppenwolf that he's worthy. And, Steppenwolf wants to prove the Darkseid that he's a worthy, adversary. And Darkseid's like, just go, do whatever. You got to bring me 50,000 more worlds, and then we'll talk. I'm like, jeez, dude. But, no, Steppenwolf was the biggest improvement in the film. And honestly, the 4 hours didn't feel too bad. If you get up to pee, then it's going to feel like 4 hours. But honestly, the movie flowed well. It worked well. Again, there are some things that could have been shaved off to make it a little bit shorter. And a lot of the slow motion was a little bit unnecessary. But overall, this was like a huge event. My dad and I went ham watching this movie when it came out. We were screaming downstairs. My mom's like, what is going on downstairs? And we're just having a good time watching Zack Snyder's Justice League, man. I love this movie. This is my favorite DCEU movie. I wish they would be doing another one with the Nightmare universe that they kind of planned at the end of the film, which, by the way, honestly, the Nightmare sequence was cool, but since they're not doing anything with it, I really wish they wouldn't have tacked it on, because it just gets me excited for something that's probably not going to happen. But again, that was my list of movies here. We'll go over those really quick, and we'll go from there. Hey guys, thanks again so much for listening to the podcast here. I really do appreciate the ones that listen to it every week, or if you're brand new, thanks so much for checking out the podcast. I really do appreciate it here. Again, I just want to go over the movies quick in order from my least favorite to my favorite, and we will go from there. And so again, the order that I have my movies from worst to best is Suicide Squad, Wonder Woman 1984, the 2017 Justice League, Birds of Prey, Batman v Superman, Dawn of Justice Ultimate Edition, Man of Steel, Aquaman, Wonder Woman, Shazam, and Zack Snyder's Justice League. Again, I want to thank everybody for listening to the podcast here today. I upload my podcast on all streaming services, Spotify, Apple Music, Google Play, and also it is now available on YouTube under Chandler Burton Entertainment. If you just type in Chandler Burton Entertainment or the Chandler Burton Podcast on YouTube, it'll pop up if you want to listen to it that way. Also, if you go to the channel, feel free to hit the like button and subscribe button on videos. I try to upload my podcast every single week, and I upload reaction videos to music, movies, and video games daily. Again, thank you guys so much for checking out the podcast here today. Again, this has been the Chandler Burton Podcast, signing off, and I hope you all have a good rest of your day and enjoy your weekend.